Hello, today we are in Matthew 18, and we're going to start at verse 21. Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how many times shall my brother sin against me, and I still forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 77 times. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his slaves. And when he had begun to settle them, one who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him. But since he did not have the means to repay, his master commanded that he be sold, along with his wife and his children, and all that he had, in repayment be made. So the slave fell to the ground and prostrated himself before him, saying, Have mercy, have patience with me, and I will repay you everything. And the master of that slave felt compassion, and he released him and forgave him the debt. But that slave went out and found one of his fellow slaves, who owed him 100 denarii. And he seized him and began to choke him, saying, Pay back what you owe. So his fellow slave fell to the ground and began to plead with him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will repay you. But he was unwilling, and went and threw him in prison until he would pay back what was owed. So when his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were deeply grieved, and came back and reported to their master all that had happened. Then summoning him, the master said to him, You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt, because you pleaded with me. Should you not also have had mercy on your fellow slave, in the same way that I had mercy on you? And the master, moved with anger, handed him over to the torturers until he would repay all that was owed him. My heavenly Father will also do the same to you, if each of you does not forgive his brother from your heart. So here we have Peter asking him how many times should he forgive his brother when he messes up. And Jesus doesn't give a straight answer. He does say up to 77 times, but then he further illustrates the point. This part is about a servant who owed his master so much money, was going to be punished. He begged for mercy, and the master felt compassion and gave him mercy. This is about him not having mercy on his fellow slave. So this section is about the servant who had obtained mercy. He didn't give mercy to others, and he didn't forgive others. And then this is a response from the master, saying that he's wicked, he had forgiven him and had compassion on him. He should have had mercy on his fellow slave, and he was punished for that. And Jesus says his heavenly Father will also do the same to you if each of you doesn't forgive his brother from his heart. I know this seems kind of harsh, but we should try to keep in mind that all of us mess up. I've messed up and I've sinned many times. It probably won't be the last. And everyone messes up, but God still forgives me, even though I mess up over and over. And God forgives you, and he's loving and he's forgiving, but he's also just. This really ties back in to when Jesus was washing the disciples' feet and the example he was setting there. But how can we apply this to our everyday life? Well, first, if we mess up, we should apologize, and we should do the right thing. And also, if other people wrong us, we should forgive them. Not because they deserve to be forgiven, because maybe they don't deserve to be forgiven, but we should forgive them because, quite simply, God forgave us. We should have mercy and be forgiving of other people because God first forgave us. And we need to remember this. Too many times we can act like a Pharisee, and we can become so sure of ourselves that we're not willing to forgive. But the moral of this story is be forgiving, and if someone wrongs you, be willing to forgive him in your heart. And that is in context with the chapter 18. And at the beginning of the chapter, they're asking who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And he called a child to himself and set him among them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you change and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven." So, keeping this in context, the passage we read is primarily about us forgiving others because God simply forgave us. That's all for today. Hope you learned something, and Professor Sassafras signing out.